August 26th, 1892. Dear Martha, I haven't had time to write because we've had so much to do. It reminds me of when Daniel and I joined the circus. We were so tired and our hands ached at night. Well, it's been like that around here. I have a lot of good things to tell you. The best thing is, we had a house raising. Our lumber was delivered here a few days ago. We were expecting the Carters to come because Pap and Mr. Carter and Martin talked about it before we had left Fort Pierce. Since we filed for our land deed first, we need a home first. They agreed to come help us build it. Then, when they get their land, which should be pretty soon, we'll go help them build their house. As I said, we were expecting the Carters, but we were not expecting all the other folks who came, too. Miss Carter and Miss Emily telegraphed everyone that could think of, and folks came from miles and miles away. Captain Walsh came and brought his 2 grown sons. The Larks came. I had no idea they were here, but suddenly a voice behind me said, "What will it be, Bodain, marbles, or slingshots?" It was Travis. I was so glad to see him, I almost gave him a bear hug. Almost. The goods came, so I got to see Minnie and Hallie. Jasper Lowe's father died of the fever, but Jasper and his mother came. The Porters came too. Remember the family whose wagons rolled down the hill? Miss Lowe said, "Grace, I knew you'd need someone to help you with the cooking." First, Pap introduced Daniel and told a little bit about how he had come to live with us. Then he held up Veronica and told the story of how she came to be his second Bodain daughter. Folks cheered for him both. People parked their covered wagons in a circle under the stand in the oaks. The men set up the sawhorses and saws, planes, woodworking tools, and put on overalls and boots. The women set up the house door on extra sawhorses end to end, so we had one long eating table. The women made an outdoor stove near the springs. They set up a tripod, and the entire time I don't think I had ever looked over there, and there wasn't a big pot of something boiling and bubbling. Travis and Daniel and Jasper were in charge of hunting up small game for some of our meals. They brought home quail, squirrels, rabbits, and didn't think that they were so big and too important. The men had the floor first, sanding and planning in the plains. Just so, then the walls went up. The walks made it very exciting because we could see what it was going to look like in the house. There were so many people working, and they were finished the house in about a week. But right in the middle of things, we had a huge surprise. Miss Melman and Mr. Michelson arrived. Their excuse was that they were bringing Girly, but I really think Miss Melman wanted to be with everyone again and to introduce her beau. Folks were so happy to see her. All the kids were running. The women hugged her neck, but when they were really interested and was finding out about Mr. Michelson, they pestered her with the questions right and left. She just grinned. Everyone worked hard during the day. The men and some of the women helped build the house. Other women cooked and a few watched the babies and the little children. Most of the time, all of the kids swam and played in the springs. After a week, when the house was finished, Martin Carter said, "I think we could get this barn up in 4 days, maybe 3. What do you say, folks?" Pap and Mama didn't want to impose on their friends. Pap said, "That is enough. We'll get the barn." But Mr. Michelson said, "Bodain, the house was almost finished when I got here. You're not going to cheat me out of a barn." When we kids heard that, we had a few more days together. We went berserk. Travis yelled, "Last one in the swimming hole is a rotten egg. I hope I hear from you soon. I miss you bunches and bunches. Love, Teddy." August 29th, 1892. Dear Martha, I wish you could see this place. It's been transformed from a wilderness to a homestead, a house, and a home. The barn is almost up, but the real news is, today, our furniture arrived. None of the ladies, including Mama, had ever had store-bought furniture arrive. Oh, maybe Miss Melman has, but if she has, she didn't let on. She oohed and awed along with everyone else. The furniture arrived and the ladies went right to work. They set up beds, put up sheets and blankets and mattresses, hung quilts, arranged furniture, put books on shelves, hung clothes in the wardrobe, and hung the portraits of our family had taken at Mr. L.H.'s Lee Grand's photography studio in Meridian. When we saw Dylan in the picture, all of us cried, but not for too long. He will always be part of our family. But it gets even better. One last big box arrived with the furniture, but Pap told us not to open it. That afternoon, when all the furniture was arranged and looking beautiful, Pap asked Daniel and Travis to help him unwrap the special box. He wouldn't let anyone else, including me, in there. When it was his place, he covered it with one of Mama's quilts. We had a big dinner together, and the folks gathered in front of the front porch. Miss Melman had gathered a grapevine from the woods and woven it into a wreath for the front door. She wove wildflowers into it, and it was just the prettiest thing you'd ever saw. When we were gathered, Pap asked Mr. Mickelson to pray a prayer of dedication of our house. His words were full of thanksgiving that no one had hurt in building this house. He must not have known about the big splinter I got in my toe. He ended up the prayer by saying, "Bless this house, O Lord, we pray. Make it safe by night and day." Then Pap stood on the porch. He took his hat off and held it out in his hands, and he said, "None of this could have been possible without the love and support of good friends and family. None of this would be possible without a good woman standing by my side and precious children to bring happiness and laughter." Then he did something that shocked us all. He picked Mama up in his arms and said, "Grace, I want to carry you through the threshold of this new house," and he carried her inside. Everyone laughed about that like Mama and Pop were newlyweds. I saw Mr. Michelson look at Miss Melman and raise his eyebrows, but the surprise weren't ever over yet. Folks crowded inside the house and admired all the furniture. Then Mr. Carter said in a loud voice, "Dalton, that's this here?" Pap said, "One more thing. Then I promise you folks can go to bed." Mama looked at him curiously. My wife left Mississippi without complaining. She endured a long trip down here and many hardships along the way. This is my thank you present to her. While we all looked on, Pap and Mr. Carter took the quilt off, and there was a beautiful piano. Mama was so astounded that she didn't know what to say. She put her hands on her cheeks, then looks at Pap's face was priceless. He was so proud. I was happy for him and Mama. Mama said, "This is almost the best present I've ever received." Pap was feeling his oats. He said, "Almost the best present? What could be a better present than a brand spanking new piano?" You could tell he was joking, but people wanted to hear what Mama had to say. She motioned for me and Daniel to come to her. She took Veronica from Miss Emily. Mama held us right tight and said this. I heard sniffling and some folks wiped their eyes into his handkerchief. Mama said, "Miss Melman, would you please play this piano for me?" Miss Melman said, "We would love to hear you play, Grace. I think you're ready." And Martha, I don't even have to tell you what song Mama played. Pap's gift to Mama was a piano, but Mama's gift to us was her beautiful song, Love, Teddy. August 30th, 1892. Dear Martha, this morning the men finished the barn. Everything was complete. Captain Walsh drove to the trading post and bought a wagon load of bedding straw and some hay for the animals. Travis, Daniel, Minnie, Hallie, Jasper, and I spread out the barn for Jeb in January, Gabriel, Gurley, and Swift. The sad thing is that everyone left today. We hated to see them leave. We were moaning about it, and being sad and all. But Minnie reminded us that we'll probably be together again when the Carters get their land in a few weeks. That made saying goodbye a little easier. Before she left, Miss Melman said, "Teddy, it was so good to see you. Promise me you'll come for a visit." I smiled and said, "Would there be any special occasion that might be coming up that I would need to attend?" She pinched the tip of my nose and said, "Maybe." She blushed. She and Mr. Moccasin seemed very fond of each other. I wanted to be happy. Miss Emily said, "I made you a few dresses before I came. They're hanging in the wardrobe." Minnie said, "Promise to write, Teddy. I miss you." Travis whispered, "You look like a boy, Bodain. Grow out your hair so you'll be pretty again." I said, "Hush up, Travis." Hallie said, "Let me see your gold bracelet one more time." "Ooh." Jasper said, "I hope I get to come back sometime." Mr. Mikeson said, "I haven't had this much fun since I was a kid." Come see us, Daniel and Teddy. We watched their wagons leave, waving and calling our goodbyes, and then it was just us, the Bodains, standing on the porch. It was a strange feeling. I felt happy about a lot of things in a new house and a new barn and a new sister, but I had felt sad at the same time. That night, none of us talked much. I guess we were each lost in our own thoughts, as Mama says. When Veronica finally went to sleep, Mama came to me with a lantern. She said, "Want to go to the springs with me and bathe tonight?" I said, "Sure." Bathing in the spring sounded like fun. Mama had her French soap, a hairbrush, 2 big towels, and our nightgowns. The lantern lit our way. The spring's water was just right. We bathed with the French soap, and Mama washed my hair. It felt luxurious. I remember how she had washed it months ago when we were on the wagon train. She brushed it with her brush and said, "Soon you'll look like a girl again." When we finished, we walked back to the house and sat in the swing on the front porch. The swing was Miss Melman's gift to us from our new house. We sat side by side on the swing. Mama put her arms around me and drew me to her. I put my head on her shoulder. I said, "Mama, I'm so happy. I want you to know that. But sometimes I feel like crying." "Why is that?" Mama put her hand on my cheek. She said, "That's just life, Teddy. We love people. We lose some people along the way. People share their lives with us, and they share their love with us. And sometimes our hearts get so full of it all, we don't know whether to laugh or cry." It made sense when Mama said that. Sitting next to her again was a dream come true. Then Mama said, "But the good thing is, we're home. Finally, we're home." I said, "How do you know, Mama? How do you know this is really home?" Mama smiled, "Because just this morning, as the sun was peeking over the horizon, I heard the redbird sing for Cherry Lil's song, and he was singing, I knew he was saying, 'Welcome home. Love, Teddy.'"